This is Brian Meador from East Carolina University. You are listening to the Sports Objective, the official, unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Welcome into the Sports Objective, very special night. We got baseball on our minds, and I want to welcome in Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you, dude?
What's going on, Dave? Just sitting here in LaGrange on a Thursday night, wishing that people wouldn't have taken all the gas away so they could do what they wanted to do originally on Friday, but unfortunately people screw up your plans because they're assholes. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm actually drinking your sun drops right here, so I just want to let everybody know that. Thanks to Bubba Rosenbaum, who got us the sun drops and the cheer wine for my kids. They're enjoying that, Bubba. Thank you very much. How are you, sir?
You're very welcome. I'm doing well. Just finished watching my nephew Lance's game, and I'm about to head home. Looking forward to talking some baseball.
Listen, right now, a great friend, and obviously I'm wearing the, if you look right tonight for our viewers, if you're not, I actually have an Edenton Steamers shirt on, because we have the general manager of the Edenton Steamers, Tyler Russell. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks again for having me on. And I will say I'm doing much better than Kyle. I was able to fill up with gas in Edenton yesterday, so I guess I'm the envy of the group right now.
Yeah, I literally had to do a gas station tour today around my town several times. I drove to another town. I was told I had gas. I got there. They didn't have gas. That's the way I spent my day off. And I actually had to use the gas I had for my lawnmower. About 3 gallons of that I used for my tank so I could get to work and back tomorrow. So the crazy things you have to do in life to just get to work.
Yeah, we get and I have gas. We have gas. I have a friend that we were supposed to do something tomorrow, and unfortunately my friend can't get gas, so plans are canceled. And yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, so let's talk about happy things, and that's the Edenton Steamers. Very happy to have you on, because that means the season's getting ready to start in a couple weeks. And I know this is your busy time, my friend, and I don't know when you sleep, especially between early June and early August. I think that you need a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, I don't sleep very much. I'm usually looking, depending on how many home games we have in a week, I'm at the ballpark 60 to 80 hours a week probably. So right now I have my first intern arrived today. I haven't even met him yet. He came in tonight. He will immediately be put to work tomorrow morning when he arrives to the ballpark. Other interns will be in over the weekend. The players are coming in 2 weeks from tomorrow, so things are really ramping up for us.
Very excited about this season. Obviously, my memory serves me right. So Wednesday, June the 2nd, you're at Carolina Pirates. What team is that?
So that's one of the new teams in the league this year. We absorbed most of what was the Carolina Virginia League. So we picked those guys up. They are in Lillington. I'm not exactly sure where Lillington is. I'm sure you guys know where it is.
It's down. It's down where Campbell is. Yeah, it's down where Campbell is.
All I know is it's a 3.5-hour bus ride. That's all I know. That I will gladly not be taking, but the players will be. We picked those guys up. We picked up a team. They're the Fuquay Twins, but they actually play at Holly Springs High School, which I know Fuquay and Holly Springs are right beside each other. We picked up the Wake Forest Fungo. They play in STEM, I believe, which is just north of Raleigh, if my memory serves me correctly. Then we picked up the Tarboro River Bandits. So they're not too far from us. That's definitely our shortest bus ride for the summer.
And I know that I'm Mr. Controversial, so let me add another thing. One team that you not desperately need, but one team that I think should be a part of it. I told you last year, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but Greenville, please join the league. I mean, Greenville needs a team. You have what was a minor league park in Guy Smith Stadium. It's one of the nicest stadiums in America. And there's talk that I told you that last year, Tyler, there's talk that because of Little League, they don't want to mess up Little League. You don't have to mess up Little League. I mean, you guys have Little League in in Edenton. And last time I checked, you've been able to have a nice run with Edenton Steamers. So Greenville has over 100, has about 100,000 people. They definitely would support the team, no doubt.
Yeah, it's an excellent market for sure. I have tried my best to get into Greenville. I have gone to Greenville multiple times. I have met with multiple people. I've sat down with the mayor a few times. I've sat down with a few other folks that have some sense of power in Greenville. I think the interest is there. It's just having someone to really grab it by the horns and make it happen. I think that's what they're lacking. But there's definitely the opportunity. Guy Smith would be a great place. The problem there is there's no parking. There's nowhere to go. To me, what makes the most sense is Pitt, because there's plenty of room to grow, but that's not in Greenville, it's in Winterville. So that's the biggest thing there, and there's unlimited parking there pretty much. But hopefully one day, Pitt County, hopefully, will have summer collegiate baseball, and I'm trying to do all I can to help them out with it.
Well, I'm not trying to be negative. I really just put it out there because we have a lot of Greenville folks. So let's make it happen. Let's have a team in Greenville. I'll still be pulling for Edenton. I'm an Edenton Steamers fan. But I do think that is that would help out. I wanted to talk about promotions you guys have. You've had some that are still familiar, old faces, if you will, that you've had in the past, like the Sunday Bulletin. I know if they have a church bulletin, they get in. Is it for $2?
Yep, $2. Yep, we have what we call our nightly promotions. We have something going on every night of the 7 days of the week, and then we have a lot of other things mixed in. But some of those nightly things, like you said, Sundays, we do have 2 Sunday games this summer, and they're both going to be 7-inning doubleheaders starting at 5. Something we've never done before. We're going to try that out. I figured 5 o'clock, it may be easier for some folks to come to the ballpark that night and get back home at a decent time to go to work Monday morning. Monday nights are going to be our Bark in the Park. Tuesdays are 2 for Tuesday, so it'll be 2 hot dogs for $2 and $2 Busch Lights. Wednesday is Winning Wednesday. So if we win the game on Wednesday night, and if you stick it out for the whole game, you get a free ticket to the next Wednesday game. So that's something new for us. We had our all-you-can-eat concessions used to be our Wednesday night thing, and that was always viewed with varying importance, I guess I could say, by some of the higher-ups in the organization. It was something that I thought was a good idea, and it never really panned out the way we wanted it to. But our Thursdays are Thirsty Thursday, the natural thing that everybody does. Friday, kids run the bases after the games, and Saturday is something new. It's called Smokehouse Saturday. Old Colony Smokehouse is a newer restaurant in town, very prominent, very good food. So every Saturday night, we're going to profile some of their food in the concession stand. We will still have our regular concessions, but we will profile 1 or 2 of their particular items as well. There will be limited supply, but it's good for us to promote them and for them to help promote us at the same time.
Tyler, you mentioned the team down in Lillington, which, as I said, is by Boys Creek, where Campbell is, which makes me want to ask you, being collegiate baseball, the Edenton Steamers, who makes up most of your roster? Not so much who the players are, but what schools do they come from? And do we lose them? No, we lost Bubba. Is it typically the same group of schools, or you get a different group of schools you work with each year, or how does that even work? How does a player become an Edenton Steamer?
The biggest thing that goes into our recruiting process is really the relationships that we have with schools. So it varies as we go from head coach to head coach. When I first started here, we had Brian Hill, who's now with the Wilson Tobbs. He was the head coach for, I believe, a 5-year span with us. So when he was here, we saw a lot of the same schools that returned over and over and over again, just because of guys he was familiar with. We had 1 year where we had a guy come in from Cincinnati. That was kind of a wild year where, the recruiting process didn't really go that well just because he wasn't as familiar with summer collegiate baseball. After he left, I got more involved with the recruiting with the head coach we had. I reached out to schools that I knew had sent us players before, schools that had coaches that either played for us or coached for us in the past or had some kind of tie to Edenton. So that made a big difference. And now with Marshall McDonald, our head coach now, he played independent ball. He played summer collegiate ball when he was in college. He's been at Montreat College for a few years. he has a lot of relationships that he really works off of. So really last year and this year, the majority of that roster is built off of schools that Marshall has friends at, basically, or has really good ties with. There are some in his conference. There are some guys that, he was down in Lexington County in CPL before he came to Edenton. So when he was in South Carolina, he made a lot of good relationships with all the schools down there. Now he's at Montreat, so anybody in the mountain region or anybody in eastern Tennessee, he's made really good friends with. So that's more of the way it goes, is just the relationships we have. There are some players and some coaches that seek us out, but it's not as many as you would think.
Gotcha.
No question. And you guys were, for folks that don't know, by the way, go to EdentonSteamers.com and you can check out, you've got a great website. One of the things that I want to mention for folks is I know that you have a baseball camp coming up in June, the first session, and you have one in July. Can you talk about that? Because there's a lot of folks right now that maybe are making summer plans. I know the first one's the middle of June coming up.
Yes, the dates may not be exactly right, but I think it's June 16th through the 18th, July 14th through the 16th. I think it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday each time. $75 a kid. This is boys and girls that are age 5 to 13. The last 2 or 3 years, we've had about 50 to 60 kids per session.
Wow.
Last year it dropped off a little bit because of COVID, but we still had quite a few considering everything going on. So far this year, I've had more registrations come in before the season started than I think I've ever seen. Like you said, everybody's planning for the summer. Everybody's ready to get back out there and do something and get their kid back involved in something. We have no cap on how many kids we take. We will take as many kids as are interested in coming. Our assistant coaches are the ones that oversee that camp, and then we have some of our players that come in as well, just depending on how many kids we end up having come. But it's really good 3 days of instruction. It's from 9 to 12 each morning. The kids get broken down in more of their age group or their skill group, and they go through groups like that. They'll do pitching, they'll do catching, pitching off of a mound, throwing, hitting. We always end it with a little bit of a scrimmage and a home run derby on the last day. So it is something that's really fun. We see a lot of kids that they'll come to the first one and then their parents will immediately sign them back up for the second one, just because their kids had such a good time. And obviously they get to spend time with the players, coaches. On the last day of camp, that Friday, we have a home game on both Fridays. The kids get a free ticket to the game that night. Where we'll give them a T-shirt, which comes courtesy of McDonald's of Edenton and Plymouth this year. They're the sponsor of the summer camp this year. So the kids will get that T-shirt. That T-shirt is their ticket into the game that night. So they'll wear that. We'll let them in, and they get the opportunity to go out on the field with the players, run out for the national anthem, get a little autograph session before the game, and then obviously on the Friday nights, like I mentioned before, it's kids run the bases, so the kids can hang around all night, go back out on the field and run some more as if they hadn't done so all week, but they get one more chance to do it.
And want to remind fans that June 18th, that Friday night, is actually Magic Night, the station I work for during the day, from noon until 6, Magic 95.9. So we'll have that night will be Magic Night. So it's going to be a lot of fun too.
Yep.
I want to mention for fans also keeping up with it. Last year, you guys fell a little bit short. I thought you had automatic. I guess that's what happens when you assume. I thought you were going to win the championship. Had a really, really good team, and I think that's the case this year. You have a great coach, great organization, so you guys have a good shot to go deep in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, it was like you said. I think that was part of the reason that we lost that first round playoff game, is that everybody thought we were going to mail it in. The players thought we were going to mail it in, and it didn't happen. We ran into really a team that we hadn't seen. That's obviously played them, but the way they played, we had not seen them play that way. Their best pitcher bought his best stuff. 2 or 3 of their best batters hit the ball really well. We had one of our better pitchers go, and he threw a great game. I mean, it was a very low-scoring game, but it just didn't work out in our favor. But we do have 10 players returning from last summer. That is a lot of retention for us. This is my 7th season as the GM. I don't think I've ever seen us bring back more than 5 guys. And we had a couple more lined up. We've had a couple injuries, unfortunately. One of those was our best player, Houston Wright. He was the TSL Player of the Year last year. Obliterated multiple offensive season records that we had. He tore his rotator cuff a couple weeks back. He's had to have surgery. So very slim chance that we will see him at all this summer. If so, it will be very late just to come in and DH. But we do have a strong team coming back. We have a lot of good guys coming in that are new as well. We have some local flavor coming in this year. We've got 4 or 5 guys that are close enough to Eden they can live at home, and all of those guys are having great years. It's not one of those, I don't want this to sound bad, but it's not one of those situations where we just sign these local guys just because these are legit players and they just happen to live close to Edenton. And we're looking forward to seeing what they can bring to the table this summer as well.
In just a couple minutes from D1Baseball, we'll have Mike Rooney. Rooney's is in the green room, so I want to give him a shout out and say hello to Mike Rooney. We'll be talking about baseball in the summertime, obviously with the playoffs coming up. That's going to be exciting. Tyler, I wanted to ask you about the another thing with the picnics, and I know the group outings, if you want to talk about that, and also about something I'm excited about, Field of Dreams. I really love that promotion you do with local farm and Little League teams around the area.
Yeah. So our group ticket sales is an outreach that we really have been able to build upon in the last few years. Like you first said, we do offer just regular group ticket prices. Anywhere between groups between 10 and 24 people get a price break, and then 25 plus people get an even bigger price break on the tickets. We do picnics as well. Those are great for youth groups or corporate outings of any kind, or even just, we've had some families that just get together. Not that it's a family reunion, but they kind of treat it like one where they just bring everybody out one night. We have some different food options there, what we call a ballpark meal, which is just hamburger, hot dog. We do fried chicken, we do barbecue, we can do pizza, some different things we can do there. And we are going to be adding a tent over our picnic area this year. That's sponsored by Biggs Cadillac Buick GC out of Elizabeth City. That'll be called the Bill Gardner's Biggs Party Tent. Bill Gardner is a proud man of Edenton. He's very well known in this area, been a car salesman for many years, has a lot of friends in the area, and those guys have hopped on board to put up a big tent over our picnic area. So it's a 20 by 30 tent. Definitely helps keep the bugs off of you. Obviously keeps the rain if there's any, which we never want any of that. But adding that tent, we're hoping is going to bring in those group sales for us as well. And the Field of Dreams is something that's awesome, I think. It's something I wish we could do every single night, and it's really hard for us to get it every night, but we try our best. It's where we get not just a Little League team, but any group of children that want to come out and meet our players, go out on the field with them before the game, run out for the national anthem. They do get the chance to spend a little bit of time with the players in the dugout beforehand and talk to them, maybe sign a couple autographs. We also, the last couple of years, we've tried to make this a little bit more of a thing, but let those kids bring their glove and go out and play catch on the field with the players while they're warming up for a little bit. That's something that we've tried to do a little bit more of. Last year we didn't because of everything with COVID. But the year before was the first year we tried that. We're going to do that again this year. The kids get about 10 to 15 minutes to go out there and throw with the players. Not too much time that's going to take away from our guys getting ready for the game, how they need to get ready. But Field of Dreams, it's free to sign up. You can call the office. There's even a form online that you can print off, fill out, and mail that into us. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a baseball or softball youth team. It could be anybody. We have the Boy Scouts coming out. The second game of the season is Boy Scout night. The Boy Scouts are going to go out on the field. They're even going to hang around and camp out in the outfield after the game, which is awesome. The Girl Scouts are doing tonight. Same thing. They're going to go out, run out on the field with the players. So it just doesn't have to be baseball, softball team. It can be any group of kids. But it's something that I like to see the kids get out there and have a good time. Because to me, the kids are our target market. You want the kids to come out and have a good time. Obviously, they're going to bring their parents and their siblings with them if they do that. And the kids are the future of the game, really. These players are, as we know, they're college baseball players. And some of those guys are going to get a chance to play pro ball. Somebody may even make it big. It doesn't happen often, but we've been lucky to have a few of those guys. But to these kids, these guys might as well be Major League All-Stars. They don't know the difference, and that's awesome. And some of these players that we have really embraced that. They realize that they're doing this, obviously, for themselves, but do it for the kids too. And just having this Field of Dreams program is just another way for us to outreach to these community.
No doubt, Tyler, it's going to be a great season. In fact, folks could go to EdentonSteamers.com I know they can give you a call, a lot of cool stuff. And I failed to mention, check out the kids club. You can sign up the kids for like I want to do. I need to do that tomorrow or even tonight after the show. You can sign up, I believe, for free right before we let you go.
Yes, yep. Kids Club is free. That's presented to everyone by Weatherly Insurance. They've been our sponsor of the Kids Club for the last few years. With that Kids Club membership, these kids get a $10 discount to baseball camp. So that's a plus for the parents. For the kids, we do get to send them a 4-pack of tickets. They're good for any game that they want to come out to. And when the kids come to the ballpark, they get a free T-shirt as well. We can't afford to mail out all those T-shirts to the 400 plus kids we have in the kids club. But if they do make it out to a game, stop by our information booth and you'll get a free T-shirt as well.
Tyler, I have a quick question for you before you go. And
Yes, sir.
maybe I should have checked this before I put you on the spot about it in case the answer is no. Do you guys do anything for the 4th of July? Do you have a fireworks show after a baseball game near the 4th of July?
We do. The last few years, we've always had our game closest to the 4th, which this year will be July 2nd. We have a lot going on this year. This will be the most jam-packed time we've ever had with what we're going to call our patriotic night, I guess you could say. First off, we do have fireworks that night, which is going to be a rarity in Edenton this summer. Unfortunately, the town is not doing their fireworks display. So we have 3 this summer. One's going to be June 5th, Saturday after our second game of the season. Our next one is going to be, I believe that's a Friday, July the 2nd. We'll have one after our last game of the season, which is Wednesday, July 28th. But on that July 2nd, we're going to be doing a fundraiser that night for the Albemarle Area United Way. We're going to have specialty jerseys that night. They're very cool jerseys. They're digital camo in the middle. They've got steamers across the chest and with the American flag in the background. All the proceeds from those jerseys will go to the Albemarle Area United Way. That is all being presented by H2OVX Water Park down in, I would say, not quite Nags Head. It's in Currituck County. But they're in this year as a sponsor for that. It's also our military appreciation night. All active and retired military get in free that night. And it's just going to be a great night. We really expect that to be our highest attended game of the year, especially being that close to the 4th. But we obviously will be encouraging everybody to come out and enjoy our fireworks because they're going to be hard to come out this year.
There you go.
I love it. It's good stuff. Tyler, looking forward to a great season. I'll be in touch with you soon. Appreciate you for all the stuff that you're doing for Edenton and actually northeastern North Carolina. Guys like me in Williamston, it's for folks that are close by, 45 minutes. If you're in Greenville, it's only an hour and 15 minutes. It's not that far away. For the folks in Washington, it's another easy drive to Edenton to right up Highway 17. So hopefully we can get our friends in the area to come by and see a lot of games. And glad we're almost done with COVID and look forward to a great season.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to what we're going to call a normal summer at the ballpark this year.
All right. I love it. I love it. Look forward to seeing you at the park, man. And thanks again for the time. Enjoy the visit as always.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right. Tyler Russell there, GM of Edenton Steamers. And with us right now, we're going to keep the baseball theme going. One of our favorite people in all of college baseball. And on this show is Mike Rooney. And, of course, with D1Baseball, a former D1 assistant coach, as we have there on the screen for our listeners right now, say as much. Runes, how are you doing? Very excited about college baseball as always. I know you got to be jacked up and fired up to go.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Yes, it is down the stretch we come. I mean, May is an awesome month in college baseball. It's hard to believe that just, a couple days ago we were, if I'm counting right, 3 weeks from Selection Monday. So, yeah, it's flying by. It's an awesome time of year for college baseball.
We're very excited to have you on, and I'm going to put you on the spot because all the Pirate fans are listening right now are going to ask this question. They're like, Dave, Bubba, Kyle, somebody asked Runes this question. Will we host a regional this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now ECU is a clear host. I think what they're not is a top 8 seed. Now, there's still a path to that, I think. It's if the Pirates can win. Part of the problem with the Pirates' resume had been not their own fault, that just Tulane had been playing so good. And Tulane was in first place in the league. So I think for ECU, they got to win the league. They got to win the regular season title in the American. I think that's more important than winning the conference tournament. I think they're absolutely a host right now. I think if they play really well down the stretch, they could sneak their way into the top 8. But clearly the top 8 situation is pretty crowded.
Have we got the 20? Have we got the 20 sites listed yet? I know that was supposed to come out.
Today, right?
That's tomorrow, Kyle.
Yeah, tomorrow at
Well,
noon
okay.
Eastern is what is what we're being told. But it's one of those things where it's been fluid and yeah. I mean, I think we will find out tomorrow at noon. That's my gut. But who knows? Like everything else during the pandemic, right? It's like everything's fluid.
No question about it. With this season going on right now, what's overall like generic themes? What are things that have surprised you about this season? It's nice that we've had a pretty much a full season so far.
Yeah, like I would say the biggest thing that has surprised me is like it's week 13 already. Like how the heck did that happen? Like it's just
Yeah.
amazing how the season has cruised by. I mean, I think there's been some really cool stories. Obviously, the Fairfield story. I mean, Fairfield's 33-1 if you count that forfeit. I mean, that's a really cool story. I think that's one of the things because the schedules have been more regionalized. You've got some teams that have really played well amongst their peers. I think about Central Michigan and Ball State and the MAC have kind of separated themselves. Gonzaga is a really cool story. I would tell you guys this. When I look at the national landscape, the teams like Arkansas, Vandy, and maybe I'm ready to throw Mississippi State in this group. Those 2.5 teams, I would be legitimately surprised if they don't show up in Omaha. The other 5 or 6 spots in Omaha, you could tell me anything, and I would, you could tell me USC Upstate, I'd be like, yep, I could see it. It just there's so much parity. I think the postseason could be really wild, and I'm looking forward to that.
Rodney, who's been? Give me one team that's been a huge disappointment to you that you thought was gonna, have a regional, super regional type year, and looks like they're not even gonna make the postseason.
Yeah, boy. Well, I think the obvious answer there is Wake Forest. For us at D1, Wake Forest and West Virginia are 2 names that come to mind because we ranked them in the preseason. The one thing West Virginia had, they've suffered some massive injuries, especially on the mound. Their shortstop Tevin Tucker's out for the year, so that kind of makes some sense. West Virginia's had a really tough, choppy season. Wake Forest is different because they did lose Tony Menendez, which really hurt them on the mound, but these are a lot of familiar names. And so I didn't see Wake Forest being the worst team in the ACC coming at all.
Is Maisie still at West Virginia?
He is.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. He's had a tough year. Randy Maisie and his wife, Amanda, their son, we call him Whammer. His name's Weston. During playing baseball, he had a collision and had a traumatic brain injury. So they've dealt with that. They had a COVID pause. It's, if you go to the website teamwhammer.com, they've got a website for Whammer, and he's doing better. He's still in the midst of recovery, but things have improved. But he's hospitalized for 30-35 days. So they've just, West Virginia's had just an awful year in a million different ways. But, again, I'd encourage anyone. Teamwhammer.com is a really cool fundraiser they set up as their son Weston kind of works his way through this.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Sorry to hear that. Everybody, of course, here at East Carolina knows Randy Maisie. He was the head coach here at one point, and his wife Amanda, formerly Amanda Ross, was a local sports anchor on the NBC affiliate here when he met her. So everybody knows her down east.
Sure.
And, so thoughts and prayers to those guys.
Absolutely.
In fact, she's a graduate with me in the 90s, not to give her age away, but she worked at the East Carolinian, the school newspaper, when I was working at the college radio station in East Carolina in the 90s. So she's awesome. And of course, he was a coach at East Carolina. So we have our East Carolina connections to him, and hopefully their son gets better. I didn't know. I'm glad you mentioned that, Runes. I didn't know anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good people. Yeah, they're doing a cool thing. They were not to belabor the point, but the gist of the fundraiser is, when you have a child that goes through an injury like that, the child is hospitalized for a long time, and people have to miss work, and some people just the financial strain is immense, and so that's really the purpose of their fundraiser, is to help families that are going through long-term hospitalizations like that for children.
No doubt. Let's talk about the. I know that you told us there. We were talking about the different leagues and everything. With the Southeastern Conference getting a whole bunch of teams. What about them? What about the South? We always know they're arguably the best team, or I should say, the best league in the nation. Would you say they're the best again this year with the number of teams that are going to be in the NCAA's?
Yeah, I would say, are they the deepest league? That's hard to say. I mean, you could make an argument that the ACC is the deepest league, honestly, but I think the SEC clearly has the top teams. Vandy and Arkansas are their own tier for me. Mississippi State, just because their pitching is so good and they've got a kid like Tanner Allen, I think you got to include Mississippi State in that next tier. Ole Miss is a team we really like, but, they just lost Gunnar Hoagland. They have kind of two aces. They lost him for the season with Tommy John surgery recently, so they're kind of reeling. Hey, Tennessee is having a real renaissance season after making the NCAA tournament in 2019. Right now, Tennessee's a top 8 national seed, and so that's kind of that first group. And then you've got teams like South Carolina, Alabama, Kentucky, LSU. Those teams really fighting for a regional bid, and so. The SEC is fascinating as always. They have the coolest regular season in the sport where it's 30, it's 30 games, 10 straight weeks, no buys, no break for finals. Sorry, not sorry. Like just strap it on for 10 weeks and here we go.
What conference would you say? Yeah, I'm going to go with surprises all night, I guess. What conference would you say has been kind of a surprise in a positive way? I looking at things, and this is always a pretty solid league, but Conference USA, if you look at them, Southern Miss, Louisiana Tech, Charlotte, Old Dominion, all look to be a lock for the postseason. So that one surprised me a little bit. I didn't know they would be quite that good this year, particularly with Rice being down now for so many years. What league has surprised you?
Yes, so Conference USA is a really good choice because just what you said, Old Dominion's having a great year. Charlotte put in a bid to host. Southern Miss is doing their thing. And then Louisiana Tech is having a heck of a year. And they've kind of fallen off a little bit lately, but they were in the mix to host. So to your point, it's like Conference USA is an easy 4-bid league. And then, this is not even including Rice and Florida Atlantic, who are not, to their normal levels. So what's interesting about Conference USA is if somebody else wins that conference tournament, those 4 teams I already mentioned are locks. Yeah. And so they got a chance to be a conference bid stealing league. I'll tell you the other one that comes to mind when you use the word surprise is the Pac-12. The Pac-12 right now is a solid 6-bid league. And I think the thing that we didn't see coming is Stanford has been really good. Oregon has been outstanding. Arizona, we weren't, they were preseason ranked, but they've maybe been even better. And then Arizona State, Oregon State. Arizona State has sustained some injuries, but they're hanging in there. So anyway, the Pac-12 is an easy 6-bid league right now, and I'm not sure that I saw that level of depth coming.
With Tulane losing 3 out of 4 to East Carolina, and we sure are glad they did. Do you think the American is just a 1-bid league now, unless somebody besides ECU wins the conference tournament?
Well, I think the answer as we sit here today is yes, but I think Tulane could do something about it. Tulane has got a couple weekends to get, if they can get themselves back on track, and by all counts, they got the pitching to do it. Just a very young offensive group, and so Tulane's got they have to play well, or they're going to go into the American tournament having to win the thing. So yeah, right now it's a 2-bid league, but I'll tell you guys this about Tulane. They're not toast from an at-large perspective. They're just very much on the bubble right now.
Has Wichita kind of played their way out of it? They're going to have to win the conference tournament.
I think so. I just don't. Wichita State is. I think their 2 problems is not that we're over-indexing on RPI this year, but their RPI is still in the mid-50s. And I think the biggest challenge for Wichita State is, you're 13-10 in the league, and the league is just not having an awesome year. So it's I think that's the problem for Wichita State is that just, that's what kind of was buoying Tulane's resume is they were so good in conference, whereas, Wichita State's played fine in conference, but not overwhelmingly so.
Some other clubs I want to ask you about, Mike. I know you already touched on Conference USA and having 4 teams in the top 25. What a story they've been. But the Liberty Flames, 33-11, 17-1 in the A-Sun. They also have quality non-conference wins, the likes of North Carolina, and I know Virginia and some of those ACC programs are down this year, but still UVA, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, they won a series against Coastal Carolina. So if you would touch on Scott Jackson's ball club, then you have VCU. They've won 16 straight, 32-14 overall, and then Northeastern. What a story they've been in the Colonial.
Yeah, I'll tell you, all 3 of those teams are teams that I think have legitimate at-large resumes. And hey, I'll give you another one, Fairfield, who we already talked about. Like Fairfield's getting in the tournament. I don't know how you could leave them out at 33-1, even if I don't care what league you're playing in. Winning 33 out of 34 games is really hard to do. So all of those teams, that's kind of the thing that's been cool this year, guys, is these teams have played mostly their peers. They didn't go south and get their brains beat in for the first 4 weekends of the season. And so they have these great records. Northeastern is on an 18-game winning streak right now. So I think those are really the bid stealers potentially if they don't win their conference tournaments. And hey, I'm talking to myself right here. You have to kind of double check the conference tournament situation because by my count, there's only 24 leagues even having conference tournaments. Remember, the Ivy League is out. They're not going to have a representative in the NCAA tournament. The MAC's not having a tournament. The WCC's not having a tournament. So, it's that part's going to be fascinating too, is that there's more at-large bids available.
Now you said there's more at-large bids available. So those conferences, regular season champ, don't get their tournament spot by default?
Yes, yeah. So those leagues would operate just like the Pac-12 and the Big West always operate, which means whoever wins the regular season is the automatic bid.
Okay, but there's not as many chances to, I guess, kind of steal a spot by somebody winning the conference tournament that didn't win the regular season.
Yeah, like I'll give you a good, I guess what I would call a decent example is the MAC, right? The Mid-American Conference, like Central Michigan and Ball State, really. Those two teams are having great years. So let's just assume Central Michigan. Let's assume neither of those two teams won the conference tournament. Let's say Kent State snuck up and won it. Well, those two teams could steal a bid. Well, that's not going to be the case this year. If Central Michigan wins the league, they're the automatic bid.
Mike, kind of shifting gears a little bit, and then I'm sure we'll come back and talk about some more teams we haven't touched on, especially some out west that I wanted to mention. But, with your background, having coached at Arizona State, obviously also coaching the JUCO ranks, just talk about, the experiences that you had and then trying to compare with what these coaches have gone through this year and just the conversations you've had with coaches. You talked a little about this already with, Randy Mazey in West Virginia having a pause and some of the other things that he was going through personally. But I can only imagine, with the 4-game series that some leagues are having and the challenges that presents, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to that, Bubba. It's really going to be fascinating. I mean, I think we all are kind of hoping. Hey, I'll just be critical of myself. Nobody loves college baseball more than me, but man, I don't know if I told Kendall and Aaron Fitt of D1, I was kidding them that I gotta revisit my off-season program because I wasn't ready for a 13-week season. Like I'm fatigued, and so, but I know I'll get a second win, and I know the players and coaches will too. But it's like the year off affected all of us. It affected the players, the coaches, and so I think that's interesting. I think we mentioned this on a podcast this week. Is hey, as we get into regional play, will the leagues that played 4-game weekends all year, will they have an advantage over the leagues that played 3-game weekends? I don't know. We'll see. That's going to be interesting. It's just, I think for the coaches and players, just trying to keep everybody on the field, just keep the season going. So many teams have had these pauses, which have got to kill them. And I'll tell you guys one other point on this. We have so many players in college baseball right now that have never played in the NCAA tournament before. You think about that, like just losing that tournament last year. So, I think the teams that do have veterans, I think about a team like Gonzaga. Gonzaga's got 5 fifth-year players in their lineup, 2 fourth-year players. You look at TCU's having a great year. TCU has 5 sixth-year players that are key contributors for him. So, I think those teams with NCAA tournament experience are going to have a big advantage because it's so unique. The electricity, the adrenaline, the anxiety. You can't simulate that in the regular season. You just can't. And so I'm really curious to see how that plays out in a few weeks.
How annoyed? I just want to make a comment here. How annoyed would Gonzaga's basketball coach have to be if they just snuck up out of nowhere and won a baseball national championship?
I'm telling you guys. Gonzaga has an old team, a really good offense. They don't have pitching depth, but they might have enough pitching depth to win 5 games in the postseason. And I'll tell you the other thing. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they could be a host. Now, I don't think they will be, but they've got a heck of a resume. First place in the WCC. They took a road series at TCU. I mean, think of all these teams that have a hosting resume. How many of them have a top 8 road win? I mean, a road series win. So yeah, I'm telling you, that's a great point. When I bring up Gonzaga, people are like, the basketball school, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. They're good in baseball too.
Runes, I had a question as far as we're talking about COVID, and obviously Pirates have had a situation that you probably know with Cincinnati and Houston, where as far as games are concerned, how's the NCAA? Have you heard how they're going to differentiate when it comes to number of games played? How do you do that as far as when the selection Monday takes place, Memorial Day? How do you, if you're in that room, how do you say with this resume they played 40 games, this resume they played X number of games? How do you decipher all that? How do you put that in perspective?
I'll tell you, Dave, like that's the $1 million question. And I would tell you the good news is this selection committee we have this year, and I think this has been the case for the last several years, it's a really good committee. These are baseball people, like these are people that played college baseball, coach college baseball. I think we have a group of really smart people that know college baseball and care about college baseball. So I'm encouraged by that. I will tell you that it's a mess, right? Like, how do you evaluate the Big Ten? They didn't play anybody else. They're their own planet. How do you even compare them to any other league? There's no baseline. The ACC is really hard to compare to other teams. They played 12 less non-conference games than their peers in the SEC. They played 6 less games total. So I think that's going to be really challenging. The only thing we have to go on is, hey, what did the committee do in basketball and what did the committee do in softball, because they're ahead of us. And those committees they acted more like committees during normal times than a pandemic. There wasn't like this kind of craziness that you might anticipate. So I don't know, maybe the baseball committee does the same thing, but I mean, we're all kind of on pins and needles. Hey, tomorrow, Friday, we will get the first clue. We'll open the first envelope and we'll find out who those 20 schools are. And maybe that'll give us a little indication on what we're going to see in a few weeks.
No question. I know that we have a handful of minutes. I know you have a meeting to go to at 9 Eastern, so we're keeping eyes on that for sure. Right, Bubba?
Yeah,
I'm on the board of my condo complex, guys. If you want, I can live tweet it. I mean, these board meetings. Come on now, like this should be a reality TV show. That's right.
Well, what kind of things come up at a condo complex board meeting?
Oh man, like
homeowners dues.
Somebody complaining about something, gentlemen. I mean, it's just like nobody's happy. So yeah, I'm gonna be like the scene from Happy Gilmore when he gets in the batting cage and just starts wearing baseballs. That's really what that looks like.
Is it like a homeowners association kind of deal?
That's exactly what it is. Yep. And my wife volunteered me to be on the board. So there you go.
Oh my, you know what? Yeah, I should be on a board like that. They should start a homeowner association in my neighborhood. Because my policy would be, I don't give a damn. Everybody should be doing what they want to. They own their own land.
That's right.
Get off my lawn.
You need to take my place.
I'll do it.
All right, now, Runes, we'll start off in Texas and then 3 teams in SoCal.
Yep.
But forgive me if you've already touched on this, but in the Missouri Valley, Dallas Baptist and DBU is 29-11. Tell us what you can about them.
Yeah, DBU is just, like these guys make a regional every year, and they got off to a really rough start in the non-conference, kind of shockingly so. And, they played in that Frisco tournament with Oklahoma and Arizona just decimated everybody, just ran them off the field. So we were really concerned about DBU, but they got a really legit number 1 in Dom Hamill. They're offensive like they always are. And they have really run roughshod over the Valley. Now, Indiana State is another team that I think is an at-large team, but DBU beat them 3 out of 4, if not 4 out of 4 in their regular season weekend. So they're the class. I think Indiana. How about Indiana State? I mean, we deserve to give them a hat tip. Indiana State did not play a home game until April 16th. I mean, just think about that. They went on the road for 2 months. They have a great resume. A lot of it has to do with so many road games. Mitch Hanna's in Terre Haute's got a good club. So I think those are the 2 teams in the Valley, and then see what happens in that tournament.
All right, now 3 clubs I'd like you to touch on. In Southern California, you obviously have in the Big West UCI, and then also Santa Barbara. Talk about them, and then also the Aztecs.
Yeah, so San Diego State, I'll go first. That's a good club, but I feel like they had San Diego State in 2020 had an Omaha caliber club that just, they didn't get to play it out, kind of like in Arizona State and in Oklahoma, where you have these great teams and then the draft happens and then you got to kind of reboot. San Diego State's in the mix, but look out for Nevada, especially in that league, who just took a series from San Diego State. UC Santa Barbara was preseason ranked in like the top 12. They've got a right-hander, Michael McGreevy, who's going to be a first-round pick. They've suffered some injuries. They just lost 3 out of 4 to UCI. Those are the 2 teams in the Big West. I still think Santa Barbara's right on the bubble right now. They can really pitch. They're kind of like the new version of Fullerton. UCI is a great story. Ben Orloff took over for the late Mike Gillespie, who was a legendary coach. And so UC Irvine is, again, a very old school West Coast team that you guys have seen them. They pitch, they do the little game, they suffocate you with defense. And, UCI, they were a team in 2019. They went 13-2 in weekend series and didn't make the NCAA tournament because they finished second in their league. And so there's a little redemption there. There's no tournament in the Big West. UCI is a really good team. I'm telling you, whoever gets UCI in their regional is not going to like it. It's a really fundamentally sound team.
How about
go ahead,
I was just going to ask. We had a question from one of our colleagues who just graduated from East Carolina. He asked, analyze East Carolina's chances at going to Omaha this year. That's from Brennan Shapiro.
Yeah, I would say it's so funny. Like, I asked Aaron Fitt. Aaron Fitt has seen a lot of you guys this year, and I asked him this question this week. I said, okay, if ECU goes to Omaha, what went right? And he said, basically, look, I'm sold on their offense. Connor Norby's a stud. This offense has got depth. They got power. They got speed. They defend at a high level. So he's sold on the offense. He basically said, look, if Gavin Williams continues to do what he's doing and Carson Wisenhunt stays healthy, you've also got guys like Tyler Smith and Cooch Maynard that you can, those are more proven commodities. They're not as dominant as those other guys. He said, if the pitching holds up, this is an Omaha team. I'll tell you guys, and this happens a lot when teams go to Omaha for the first time. If you look at the projected regionals that may be sent to Greenville, like the one that D1Baseball we put out this week, the number 4 is Wofford, who's the Southern champ right now. The number 2 is South Carolina. The number 3 is NC State. I mean, that is a brutal draw. And then you'd go to Starkville for the super regional. So, hey, if East Carolina is going to do it this year, they're going to earn it. But you know what, guys? They can do it. Like, they're good enough to earn it. Like, there's not a team. All those teams are scary because they're brand names, but none of those are teams that the Pirates can't beat. They just got to go do it. So, and I'm telling you, this happens all the time. The teams that are scrapping and clawing to try and get to Omaha, the worst draw they ever get, that's the time they go. So, hey, maybe this is it.
Hey, and I know this is subject to change. The 50% capacity, Aaron seemed to think that could, be raised. Hopefully, it will be, because North Carolina, if nothing changes, is scheduled to open up on June 1st. But could you imagine, guys, with NC State and South Carolina, if that came into fruition? You would need 10,000 plus seats, and you'd be able to fill it up if that was played at a huge minor league park like the DBAP.
Bubba, we went to the Super Regionals with South Carolina in our regional back in 2009. I believe it was 2009. We went to the Super Regionals with NC State in our regional in 2019. So why not do it with both in our regional?
Let's do it.
Sounds good. Well, Runes, I know that you've got a bigger thing to do. Go to a meeting now, so we'll let you go, my friend, and hopefully we can have you back on in a few weeks to talk about the obviously selections. So that would be awesome if you can come back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, always a pleasure. Good to see you guys, and yeah, good luck to the Pirates down the stretch. Let's go.
Thanks, man. Have a
Appreciate it. Take care, Runes.
Good boy. See ya.
See you later. Bye-bye. Well, guys, anything's possible, and as Coach said last week obviously with May baseball, it's definitely playoff baseball now, and the Pirates have to just keep taking care of business. Hopefully, I think they would have to take 3 out of 4 the next 2 weeks, as Runes was talking about, that would help us win the regular season, and then obviously we need to do very well in I don't know that we have to win it, but we have to do well.
To be a top 8 seed or to host?
I think what he was saying, guys, was that for to be a top 8, or was he
That
saying
was
that?
to get back. That was to get back in the top 8. To get back in
Okay.
the top 8.
And really, this is a question I was going to ask him, but so many people, even people like Mike Rooney and Aaron Fitt, that that follow this religiously, for their job, they're so prone to talking about the top 8 and so forth that based on what I've heard, there is no top 8 this year. There is no seeding.
Oh yeah.
That everything is going to be, analyzed based on regions and so forth, on trying to keep things regionalized as much as possible, and things of that nature with what we're going through with COVID.
So they're not to be sure, they're going to have to seed the thing.
Well, you're not going to necessarily, have.
They're not going to seed it ahead of time, is what Bubba's saying, right, Bubba?
You're not going to
have to.
You're not going to necessarily have, one meeting 16 or 2 meeting 15. If as far as the super regional matchups, the matchups could be, you could have seeds meeting one another in the super regional round that would not typically meet.
So you're not going to know your opponent. Well, they did that.
You will not know your opponent until.
I thought they did that the last regional.
Say what?
I thought we didn't get pairings the last regional. I thought they started that.
No, we knew that we were going to be going to Louisville because we were pulling like crazy for Illinois State to knock off Louisville and come to Clark LeClaire.
Yeah, but you're still going to have seedings 1 through 16, and
well, maybe privately, but according to, unless something's changed.
Yeah. That's correct, Bubba.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have to look into that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's from Gary Overton on Monday's Brian Bailey show, as well as other sources like guys from D1Baseball. Excuse me, maybe Kendall Rogers.
That just I can't imagine that. I mean, I believe you. I don't think you're making it up. But I mean, okay, so you I mean, if they're going to do best regional matchups in terms of keeping everything truly regional, I mean, you're going to have Mississippi taking on Ole Miss taking on Mississippi State in the super regional. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, I'm sure certain things like that. Well, they'll do their best to avoid because they want to avoid that, and But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. Like you're saying, Kyle, it blew my mind when I heard it as well.
And then you have a number 3 road seed win a regional, or are they gonna host Vanderbilt?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't do that. But hey, well, you know what? Anything's possible. We've learned over since 2020, but I seriously doubt they would do that. But I'm looking forward to the last couple weeks of the regular season. And of course, then we have the conference tournament coming up, and we've had folks ask about that. We won't know pretty much the seedings until a handful of days before. There's a lot of people talking about making trips to wanting to make trips to Clearwater for the Pirates, but that we won't know until probably the few days before, guys. I mean, maybe that's Sunday before the Tuesday.
We'll know at the end of the conference season.
Yeah. We know when the tournament is, so you're just gonna have to go down there and do the best you can.
That would be a fun trip at some point, I think, to go to Clearwater. I was actually having this conversation with Jessica the other day, Bubba, when I mentioned that we were listening to something, we were talking about the tournament being in Clearwater.
Stacey and I actually had the same conversation.
I bet you it wasn't exactly like ours. I said it would be fun to go down there. I said I can see it right now if we could all go sports objective. I was talking about Jessica and I said we go to the East Carolina games. I said then her and I would be at the beach, out doing stuff, out drinking, going to restaurants. And I said Bubba would stay there and watch every damn game of the conference tournament. He'd watch Cincinnati play South Florida, and I said I just watched the East Carolina games and then I'm gone.
And you can also go to Busch Gardens. Is very nice there in Tampa. Not too far away.
Okay, is Clearwater right there at Tampa? How far is Clearwater from Tampa?
It's very close, 20, 30 minutes. I mean, it's very, very close.
Okay.
I don't know the exact amount, but it is close. But it's close.
It seems like it'd be a fun trip. I always see there's some seafood restaurant there at the baseball stadium that everybody always eats at. It just seems like it'd be a fun environment.
And Bubba, help me out. I know that at one point Clearwater was the spring training for the the Phillies.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah. So that ballpark is nice. I actually went there the year of the strike in '95. I was there. And speaking of which, guys, I want to say this real fast. I know we're running out of time, but I saw an article today. If you're a baseball fan, I sent to you guys from the Athletic. The union of for the Major League Baseball players filed a $500 million grievance today against Major League Baseball. So as you know, the collective bargaining agreement ends December 1st. So if you're a baseball fan, don't hold your breath that we're going to have a 22 season. Who knows? I hope that I'm wrong on that, but it doesn't look good. It looks like work stoppage, unfortunately, is heading our way, especially to do something like that. Because, Kyle, they said that they did it. They had a shortened season so the owners wouldn't pay the players, more money. Anyway,
I hate for those billionaire owners not to make another few billion, and I hope for those millionaire players not to make another few million. At some point in time, the fans who buy the tickets and who consume the product, the baseball lost a crap load of fans back in the 90s with the strike. They lost a whole bunch of fans. And I don't know that they ever truly got them all back, not to the level they were before. And they're going to keep doing crap like this, and they're going to lose more fans again. I think Major League Baseball is probably, as strong now as it's been in a while in terms of fan interest. But you can lose them again. And then what are you going to do to get them back? I mean, you had the summer of home runs, and what was it, 98?
Yeah, 98.
Got a lot of fans back interested. So don't lose them again, guys. I'm telling you, be careful what you're doing, players and owners.
Yeah, no doubt. I wanted to mention that, and hopefully we'll keep that story in the back of our minds and knowing that's coming up. Hey, Bubba, I'm very excited. We were told, by the way, we have a source. I want to mention this really fast. We were told last weekend that it looks like Dooley, for those of us who are worried if he's coming back, at the moment, it looks like he's coming back, right?
Yeah, and along those same lines, and this makes you feel very confident that will happen. I mean, you never know, but I really don't think he would have gotten a commitment for the 2022 class of this caliber if that wasn't going to be the case. Say it again?
No doubt about it. Yeah, no, I think it was a little bit of a lag, but no doubt. I know that we had a commit for the 22 class.
Yeah, a commit from out my way in Liberty Heights from here in Charlotte. Elijah Jameson. This is a kid that was originally 2021 recruit, but he reclassified to 2022. And some publications, including Jamie Shaw, think he may potentially be the top point guard in the 2022 class. Wow. He had Wichita State offered him, Ole Miss offered him, UNC Wilmington, Middle Tennessee, James Madison. But that certainly caught my attention when I watched his tape and then saw Wichita State and Ole Miss had offered him.
How did he not get any ACC offers?
I don't know, but hey, we're watching his film, and granted it is highlights. I don't know his shooting percentage from three, but he looked like he had a nice shot, and maybe a taller version of Brock Young, 6'2", 190. And again, it's Elijah Jameson out of Liberty Heights here in Charlotte.
Very excited.
By the way, great name, Elijah Jameson. It sounds like a whiskey brand. Jameson whiskey and Elijah Craig whiskey.
Well, if he's as good as they say he is, then he might have a chance to make it to the league and certainly have his own whiskey down the line when he's in the pros. But hey, Bubba, let's talk about the big matchup for the Pirates this weekend as we're going to Cincinnati. Big Daddy in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the Pirates will be playing the Bearcats at UC Baseball Stadium. 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then 1 o'clock, obviously, on Friday, as you see there on the screen, if you're viewing, 45 minutes after the first for Friday's doubleheader. And all those games, all four, will be on ESPN Plus, so that's awesome news. So be sure to tune in. If not, check out Corey Glore, and I'm guessing it'll be Corey by himself, as it typically is on the road. Occasionally, Malcolm will join in, but this year things are different due to COVID regulations. Malcolm has been staying home as opposed to traveling with the team. So join Corey via TuneIn on 94.3 The Game or East Carolina Baseball on Learfield IMG College. But
it's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that, Bubba. Coach O, Corey announced this past weekend during one of those games with Tulane that Coach O will be making the trip to Tampa for South Florida and the trip to Clearwater for the tournament to join him in the radio booth.
Yep, and I did hear that. I'm glad to know that Coach O will be making that trip, and that certainly.
Suddenly, Coach O wants to go on road trips to Florida, but he can't make it.
He wanted to get out and about. But as far as this weekend, guys, I know you saw this like I did. The pitching rotation, obviously you're going to have Gavin Williams getting the ball in game 1, then Tyler Smith in game 2. But then after that, it's to be announced. And it remains to be seen. Cooch will be coming out of the bullpen. So one of those two starters will not be Jake Cooch-Maynor unless something changes. The good news is that Cooch, after working on some things mechanically in a bullpen in Greenville before the team traveled to Cincinnati, Coach Godwin said that he felt very confident about the bullpen that Jake threw, and it was one that is probably his best of the year. So hopefully he's working some of the kinks out that he's been struggling with in recent starts, and we'll see, whether it's Garrett Saylor, Carter Spivey, who's getting the ball.
So are we guaranteed Jack's not going to start because of throwing bullpen?
Well, according to Coach Godwin, he said that he's coming out of the bullpen in his press conference. So unless something changes, and then Carter Wisenhunt was battling some of the same soreness that he had before, and have not received an update on him since he threw a bullpen. Hopefully he'll be able to go in some capacity this weekend, whether it's starting or 3 innings or something in relief.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be my Bubba, just judging by what Coach was saying, I think for both Cooch and maybe Cooch will have a long, relief appearance, and the same thing with Wisenhunt will be not a long, I don't want to say long relief appearance, but he'll be coming out of the bullpen as well. I think he will play one of those days, but maybe they give him, like you said, a few innings. But as far as starting, I don't see either one of those guys starting this weekend. Just based on what you've said.
And I would not be surprised. I know I heard Corey mention this in an interview he did in the last couple of days, and I was already thinking that, C.J. Mayhew, it's nothing for us to extend him 3-4 innings. I would not be surprised to maybe see C.J. Mayhew get a start. Just right offhand, I cannot recall, Cincinnati's lined up in terms of how many lefties they have and so forth. But C.J. Mayhew, remember that name. And obviously you've seen Cam Colmore pretty much solely in relief, but he has made a spot midweek start here and there in his career. So maybe you see Cam Colmore give you 3 or 4 innings and get the game off to a solid start.
What about Bridges?
It would surprise me a little bit with Matt, but I guess all hands on deck at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, what's going on with Cooch-Maynor? I know he hadn't looked like the Cooch-Maynor of old, but I mean, I don't know if we should be. I mean, I'm not questioning Coach Godwin, but I don't know if I'd want to be bringing him out of the bullpen when we're also going to be down, with bringing Wisenhunt out of the bullpen also.
It's not a matter of.
I think it's something. Sorry, Dave. We started to speak at the same time there, but I think it's something, Kyle. A lot of this, and Coach Godwin's alluded to it in his post-game press conferences, being more on the mental side of things. And now, obviously, he said there were some mechanical adjustments that needed to take place as well. But I think that was, kind of more fine-tuning as opposed to major changes, obviously. And I think because of that, not going through the typical starting routine and just being able to throw a few pitches down in the bullpen, get hot, and come into a ball game, hopefully that will – make Cooch think a little less and just pitch the way he can pitch.
It's a matter of, as Coach talked about, there's nobody that works harder than, you remember that, Bubba? Nobody works harder than Cooch. He's always joking around. He's actually, I think Coach even told him to get his mind off of things, helping the younger guys. I think one of the things he's a type of kid, he's putting too much pressure on himself. And I think he's overanalyzing by what Coach said. He's thinking about things way too much. And there's times when things aren't going to go your way, and then it gets in Jake, I think, his head. And so I think, like Bubba, you said, you made a great point. I think it's not a matter of that he's being demoted, like from being a starter. This is a matter of getting the pressure off of him, and maybe this is a fresh take or a different look, so to speak, and then he'll be able to come back in the starting role down the stretch. What do you think?
I agree, and I think if the Pirates are going to make the run to Omaha that we all want, Jake Kuchmaner is going to have to play a pivotal role, whether it's as a starter or, who knows, maybe he turns into a quality left-handed arm like C.J. Mayhew's been out of the pen. But he's going to have to play a pivotal role, and my guess is that he'll do well in this and then hopefully be back in a starting role, maybe in the tournament when the regionals are about to come around.
No question. You look at the health of the guys for sure with Wisenhunt. I think that's more of Bubba. Wouldn't you say that they're being really, really careful because they know not only for the kids' future, meaning after East Carolina, but also for the fact that if you want to make a deep run in super regional Omaha, you know that's one of the guys you desperately have to have.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so you don't want to get him out there and then he hurts himself to the point of where he's out for the season. I know it's obvious, but he needs to. That's why they're looking out for him and being really cautious before not just throwing him out there.
Yeah, he certainly has a very bright future ahead of him. He's a COVID freshman. Last year, he just saw that one inning of work in those 17 games that the Pirates played.
Been a long time since he threw this much.
But exactly, and that was something that folks were saying, with him taking on such a huge role on being a weekend starter and going deeper into games and stuff for the first time. It would be interesting to see how it went over, but hopefully Carson will be okay, and it's nothing more than the soreness that they think it is, and we'll be able to see him back on the mound here very soon.
And obviously, folks, we want to remind you too, Bubba, very excited on Sunday night. We have extra innings, and extra innings is going to be fantastic. We'll have with us Coach O. We talked about him. The all-time winningest coach in East Carolina baseball history, Dr. Gary Overton, will be with us to break down the Cincinnati series. And, of course, Extra Innings is brought to you by Next Level Training Center in Greenville. Want to give a shout-out to Trent and Gaynell Britt. I tell you what, guys, in March we had that where they had that baseball clinic that Sunday before they opened up. My son Alexander went there. His confidence level has been unbelievable because of that. Certainly not only him being 8 years old last year in Farm League, but I think that there's a lot of mechanics. Speaking of mechanics, guys, things that they help them out with, and I want to give them a shout out because they helped my son out a lot. And I know they're going to have a lot of different clinics and camps and different things in the summer. And when we find out more information, we'll obviously pass that along. We'll probably have Trent back on Extra Innings as well, but appreciate them. And also want to give a shout out to Mark Minikazi with the PGX Player of the Week, and the PGX Pitcher of the Week. We appreciate Kaz for his support of the program and to those segments we have each and every Sunday night. Again, PGX Player of the Week and the PGX Pitcher of the Week. And guys, PGXGloves.com. I'm getting a lot of compliments from the parents for both of my daughter and my son. With Alexander in particular, I've talked to a lot of parents, and they ask, "Where in the world did you get those gloves?" And I said, "Hey, you got to go to PGXGloves.com, right, guys?"
Yeah, and get your own kids some gloves and quit admiring my children's hands. But go to PGXGloves.com. Get your kids some custom gloves. If you play golf, get yourself some golf gloves, and don't forget about the swag. Get yourself some cool T-shirts, hoodies, etc. PGXGloves.com, and guys, don't forget to put in code ECU at checkout to save yourself some cash.
Sounds good. And finally, one more thing I have, guys, or two more things. One, Bubba, you did an awesome job. I want to give you a shout out on the Open, by the way, the new Open we have, and at a close we're going to have for our viewers. If you haven't seen that, then check that out if you're listening to it. Second, next Wednesday night, we got a huge show, right?
Yeah, next Wednesday night, we'll catch up with former D1 head men's basketball coach and spent time at University of Notre Dame, also at North Carolina, as well as SMU. He played for the Tar Heels and then also played professionally. We'll catch up with Matt Daugherty, and then we'll also catch up with Patrick Johnson of 94.3 The Game.
You know, at one time, Matt Daugherty bought a house in Greenville.
Yeah.
I knew that popped, Bubba.
Yeah.
Also, want to remind fans we have a huge promotion coming up with our season tickets. And Bubba, I want to remind fans, make sure that we have a lot of people that are actually subscribing now. We want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, definitely go subscribe on YouTube. And we're approaching 300 subscribers there. The channel's really grown this year. You know, what we've had to this point this year is probably is nearing half of what we had in our entire existence. So the channel's really grown in the first, 4.5 months or so of 2021.
Well, I cannot wait to ask Matt or to tell him the story, and ask him, did he know he bought a house in Greenville? And I cannot wait to tell him that story.
Oh, that's
message board fodder, baby. Message board fodder. Dave, do you know that story?
Vaguely, I remember it was a handful of years ago, right?
Yeah, he was going to be our next head coach. He had already purchased a house in Greenville.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. But
in that post on Kyle, that reminds me of, I guess it was when we were about to hire Mike Houston, but before that hire had been made, and I may be mixing the searches up. Maybe it was when we hired Scotty Montgomery, actually, because Coach Houston, that process moved very quickly, as you guys know. But I know you remember this post, Kyle, on hoistthecolors.net. And that was, we had those diehard members of Pirate Nation headed out to PGV to see if anybody was coming in on a plane that was a potential coaching candidate, and they thought they had spotted someone, and then so they followed the vehicle, and then when the individual got out of the, I don't know, Hilton, wherever they were staying, it was a Japanese businessman.
I do remember that. I
forgot that.
I don't know why, but I always just thought that was so funny.
I don't remember which coaching search that was. I want to say it maybe was when we unfortunately hired Montgomery, but yeah, I do remember that. And just some of that. We should have that conversation sometimes. Legendary message boards posts from Boneyard Banner and Hoist the Color. I shouldn't even admit this on the air because it was under my previous screen name, but I won't even say what it was, but if you're a Boneyard Banner poster, the most notorious post in Boneyard Banner history, it will come as a surprise to no one that I am responsible for it. The day Boneyard Banner went nuts, I am responsible, and I got banned from the message board for a while after that. But it involved the Louisville cheerleader. You can figure it out from there.
All right. By the way, fans, get your season tickets, ECUPirates.com, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Call them 1-800-ECU guys. I'm understanding, I believe they've sold 11,000 roughly is what I was told in the last couple of days. That would have been
that was in
Monday or Tuesday.
That was in the last letter from the helm that we were around 11,000 sold. That came out about a week ago. So get your season tickets, and I need to promote that hard. I don't know, what we're doing at the university level at this point to promote season tickets. Obviously, the letter from the helm, but the people that are going to see that, the people that are going to see the letter from the helm, you're kind of preaching to the choir at that point.
Yep.
So
They already have their tickets.
Yeah, or they know that they need to buy them. So we need to market to we need to let people know that maybe don't realize you may have some Southeastern Conference fans who have just relocated to Greenville recently. They may not know the Gamecocks are coming to town and would just want to buy tickets for that. And you can get a $200 or $100 season ticket just as cheap as you can to buy an individual game. So let's market this thing, baby.
Well, I think another thing too, guys, is like we talked about before, that upper deck, that's 8,000 seats right there. Do every single one of those $100.
I don't know about do every one, but I'd at least do half.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, do as many as you can, because if we can get a whole bunch of
seats otherwise.
Yeah, and what I would say to it is, look, we're going to get you back in. We know there's been some tough seasons in COVID back to back. And this year, next year we're going to be really good, guys. We don't have to spend hours talking about that tonight. but we're going to be really good next year. So what I say is get those guys in. We're going to go bowling this year. And for 22, we're going to be selling a whole bunch of season tickets next year and say, look, this is 1 year only. If you want those cheap season tickets, this is your year, because next year we're going back to regular prices.
Yeah, and to be fair, the regular ticket prices for for the rest of the seats are pretty good. I mean, our season tickets this year, they didn't go up. Last year's home schedule was nowhere near as attractive as this year's, and we're paying last year's prices, which never got sold for this year.
Right.
But I do agree that what used to be the economy plan, now they call the fan zone. I agree. Yeah. Expand it because those tickets aren't getting sold anyway. So if you can sell them for $100, $100 is better than no dollars. And plus, when they're in the stadium, they're going to spend more money. They got to buy Gatorade, they got to buy Pepsi, they got to buy a hot dog, they got to buy a T-shirt. So
and beer,
get them in there, and something's better.
Get them in there now, because we need to get as many dollars as we can. And I'm telling you, next 22 is going to be a huge year for the Pirates. I just have a feeling this year we go bowling. Next year we might have a shot next year at competing for a conference championship. I was thinking about this afternoon. We have a good shot at it, but first, let's do this season first. But anyway, guys, I've had a great time with you, with Tyler Russell with the Edenton Steamers. He did great. Mike Rooney's awesome. I appreciate his time, and you guys, I appreciate all that you do for the show. And I know we're going to have definitely a great summer, and certainly with football season right around the corner, guys, it's going to be awesome too.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of baseball left to go, but always looking forward to football.
All right, Bubba, do you have anything before we go?
Nope.
All right, that was easy enough. How about you, Kyle?
I'm all out of words.
All right. Well, we'll put this podcast to bed. Appreciate, obviously, Tyler Russell, again, the GM for the Edenton Steamers. Say hello to Mike Rooney. Appreciate him very much. Until next time, you've been watching and listening to The Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. Go Pirates.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Udon Cheek, assistant track and field coach at East Carolina University. You are plugged into the Sports Objective podcast. If you are a fan, you are plugged into the right place. And if you're really a fan, you will share that link. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode. Boom!